Right. Hi, everybody. Sorry for the delay. I happened to go into the waiting room rather than the Inspire group. So all best laid plans, as they say. But let's just check that it's all going in okay into the group, and hopefully it is. So I'd love to see some love hearts there just to see that people are in the group okay. And yeah, sorry for the mix up. So anyway, so let's just check in. So usually I would be asking some really important questions of you all. And hopefully with you in the chat, you're able to put some answers to the questions in. But before I begin, put a 1 in the chat if you'd like to be even more fulfilled and successful in life, personally and professionally. And hopefully I can see some ones in the chat there, because it's something that's really important. And as well as being even more fulfilled and successful, put a 5 in the chat if you'd like both you and your teams to feel motivated and energized and inspired to contribute to its overall success. So where are you now? Maybe the vision that you had in mind for your business and your teams is not being realized in the way that you want anymore. And you'll begin to feel more frustrated and you're not fully sure what's changed. And the work that you used to do and you used to love is not so fulfilling. And you're finding that your motivation and drive is beginning to wane. And you can't be that way because you're the leader and your people are looking towards you for direction. Or possibly you're becoming busier and busier in life with little time to solve the problems that need solving because you question your next move. And you're finding that you have less time at home with your family and friends. And you're taking calls every night and weekends and you're saying those inevitable words, just 5 minutes, just 5 minutes. And we all know those 5 minutes end up being another wasted evening or weekend. Or potentially, you find that there's this lack of motivation, the sense of ownership or enthusiasm with your teams and individuals to participate and contribute to the company's success. And if you're really honest, maybe that applies to you too. And you're finding it harder to retain people or recruit people because they just don't like the environment that they're working in and they don't feel they've got any purpose. And perhaps your teams seem to be going in different directions and don't seem to be aligned to the vision that you set out to achieve. And that the business ends up with conflicting priorities. They're firefighting all the time or juggling activities on a day-to-day basis. And you may find that everything takes ages to deliver and resources are not being used resourcefully. And your money is beginning to hemorrhage. And you're wondering how long it's going to take before you bleed out. So where do you want to be instead? Imagine that time when it's 6:05 in the morning and you turn to your alarm. But you've still got 25 minutes to go. But that's not a problem because you sleep like a baby now and you're no longer feeling like you're working because you're finally living and you're living with passion and purpose. Picture that time when your teams and your key people in your life are all striving towards a common vision, where your values and your beliefs are still more aligned and you're achieving consistency in all that you do, which means that you're enjoying spending time in the business that you are in because you're loving. Or visualize that time when you're in a culture and environment where you and your teams feel empowered, motivated and accountable to contribute to its overall success, which means that your teams feel more creative, innovative, and they know that they have your back because you're supporting them and you're consistent in all that you do. And you become the supplier of choice because people love the environment and culture that you've created. They're knocking on the door to come work with you because they love that culture and the brand that you represent. And envisage that time when you have more personal freedom, you're feeling healthier, energized, and you are able to spend more time with your family and friends. And you are finally going on those holidays. You're skiing down that mountain or sailing on that yacht or sunning yourself on the beach with a cocktail, because no one is disturbing your peace. So if you are over here and you've got all of these pains and challenges, and you want to get over here where you get all of these gains and benefits, how are you going to get there? Now, I believe through the right guidance and strong leadership with a clear vision and purpose for your organisation's journey, you would achieve even more success by creating a sustainable culture and a holistic, unified approach to empower your people to strive for excellence. My name is Keely Woolley, and I have over 25 years in a corporate environment where I'm a specialist in leadership training and coaching. And I'm looking forward to sharing more story with you. So the question is, why is knowing your why so important? By building a culture and environment where people feel like they have a sense of purpose and create value, feel trusted, openness, and there's consistency, it reduces the impact it has on people. And the idea of motivation through manipulation with things like bonuses and promotions and pay increases is finite thinking, not infinite thinking. And eventually your employees get disillusioned, frustrated, and leave. And when you have a sense of purpose at work, you feel passionate, innovative, committed, and your outward looking focus is serving the whole of the organisation. And as well as that, your professional purpose is in balance with your personal purpose. According to Leadership Council in the US, 87% of highly engaged employees are less likely to leave their company, as opposed to less engaged counterparts. And according to Gallup, leading consultant, helping leaders to solve problems, they say that 70% of Americans are disengaged. And it's costing $11 billion annually due to employee turnover. And that's just the US alone. Now consider this globally. And in addition to that, the emotional and psychological benefits of having a strong sense of purpose can also have a positive impact on your longevity of life. According to Retirement Wisdom, they cited in a study in 2009, 73,000 Japanese men and women were audited. And they found that those that had a strong connection to their sense of purpose, which they call their ikigai, tended to live longer than those that didn't. And furthermore, the NHS have said that as well as having a strong sense of purpose, it can have an impact not only on your life expectancy, but it also helps with your mental health, your well-being, and your cognitive functioning. And why is it important now to know your why? Companies are far more aware of mental health these days, and they're aware of the issues that happen in the workplace. And the significance of that is ensuring that their well-being is in place to help create high and be a focus of high importance and consideration. Because increasingly, stress, anxiety, and burnout are key phrases that have been bandied about. And we know more than anything since COVID, we've got a greater awareness that this is happening. And according to Ernst & Young, in a Harvard Business Review article, they say that 90% of executives recognise the importance of having an inspirational reason for being inspired which inspires and provides a call to action for the whole of the organisation and also provides benefit to society. And consider this. Generation X, they're called the trusted generation, where purpose, values and beliefs are critical for them. And as well as that, millennials are all about the experience of dealing with your companies. And by 2025, millennials will make up 3/4 of the global workforce, where the paycheck is not their priority. How are businesses going to retain them if they don't change? And as well as this, it's been proven that having a sense of purpose has identified that it has a social impact, such as community growth. And it's not just, improvements on the bottom line figure. Although having said that, businesses have now outperformed the S&P 500 by 10 times between 1996 and 2011 because they appreciate the understanding of having a sense of purpose. Now, I'd be interested to know what the results are now. Now, the question is why would you listen to me? Now, I'd first like to ask you all a question and consider this. Have you ever noticed that if a plant isn't watered or it's confined to a small pot, it doesn't thrive or grow to its full potential? Now, let me take you back to May 2011. It's 7 a.m. in the morning, and we're all on the M1 driving, I say all, we, as in two of us, are driving on the M1 back to Kent from Loughborough, having attended a ceremony for world-class manufacturing practitioner certification the previous day. And I'm sitting in this Volvo V60 estate. I've got the morning sun shining brightly through the window, and I can hear the purr of the air conditioning softly blowing. And there he is sitting next to me with his short, blonde, spiky hair, slightly red faced because he's always sailing. And he's smiling proudly as we talk about my achievement the previous day. And suddenly we hear the phone ring and his smile fades. And his whole demeanour visibly changes, he slumps. And as he accepts the call, he says, before he's even said another word, this deep bellowing voice out of the hand-free comes out. Where are you? Oh, hi, Chris. I'm just driving back from Loughborough. Remember, I went to represent Keely, receiving her certification. Oh, yeah. I remember that now. I thought we talked about you not going. Yeah, the thing is, Chris, is that they're our biggest customer, and Kaylee's doing this because you wanted us to. You wanted us to introduce this program into the business under their recommendation. And it was only right that at least one person from the company supported her. Huh. Was heard. Well, I didn't expect you to stay overnight. I expected you to be back and find out what's going on in the mill and giving me an update. But Chris, after the event, they took all of the delegates out to dinner to celebrate their hard work. We were hardly going to be driving back at night. Right, okay. As soon as you get back, give me an update. And he cut off. And what seemed like a sunny, shiny morning of celebration had turned into nothing but darkness. No goodbye. No, how did she get on? No, well done. And all I could see next to me was a sad and broken man. And it was then that I realised that the letter I received from them at the event the previous day made sense. Dear Keely, we would like to congratulate you on passing the programme and becoming a practitioner. And clearly, you put a lot of work and effort within your site in such a short time. But it's unfortunate that you're not succeeding implementing WCM within your site, as you simply don't have the backing from the top of the business. And you can't do this alone. Now, whilst this was an unusual event for me, this was a common pattern for my boss, something he experienced every single day. He was micromanaged, not supported, not trusted, constantly watched and no encouragement. And of course, that cascaded through the business, to his own teams. And they just saw him as a micromanager himself. Have you ever felt like you've got this constant thorn in your side and you've got so much discomfort and nothing you do seems to be a bed of roses to achieve? And you feel like you are slowly withering inside. What did you do? In 2015, in February, I finally got my own team as head of projects and group procurement in a different part of the organisation with a different leader. And I thought I'd finally have a chance and an opportunity to change things and lead in the way that I thought was right. And yet, my leader had a different idea. It was late afternoon and I'm sitting in this meeting room in the head office in Schiphol, and a glass wall on the side of me and in front of me, opaque one so people couldn't see in. And on the wall, painted white to my left, was this screen where it projected, enabled you to either write on or it would project your presentations. And there in the middle of the room was this long white table with chairs all the way around, with not only my team, but my peers, because my boss was at the end of the table. And there he's sitting with his short hair. He's quite short for a man, stocky, and comes across as wanting to be your friend with that big smile. And yet he has this sense of arrogance and overconfidence and self-awareness with everything that he does. He's not dissimilar to the character David Brent from The Office. So, Mr. V, after a team discussion, we're proposing to do an organisation structure and management of our project in a more efficient way. And I'd like to show you how we were going to approach this. Stop, Keely. I haven't got a clue what you're talking about. This just doesn't make sense to me. Well, I know, Mr. V, but you haven't given me a chance. What I was about to explain, and the best way that we can do this and have the best impact. Keely, I just don't understand what you're trying to say. I know, but Mr. V, if you give me a chance, then I'll be able to explain what I'm trying to say. But you're not giving me the opportunity. Keely, don't patronise me. I have no idea what you're talking about. And then Mr. V gets up, he shuffles me to the side, and he starts drawing on this board. Well, I think we should do the structure like this, and we should do it like this, and it should be this, and it should be that. And he starts telling us what we're going to be doing instead. And at the end, Mr. V turns round and he says, right, everybody, are we all in agreement? Who thinks this is a great idea? And of course, every single one of us sighs and nods and concedes. And he says, finally, we're all in agreement. Fantastic. First time for everything. And once again, we walk out of a room deflated. And we'd put a lot of work into that, working together. But we felt like we'd just wasted so much time and effort. So despite me leading a team in a way that I thought promoted creativity and motivation, in this one moment, the whole thought process was, what's the point? Now, in 2017, I was promoted to procurement director, head of program and project delivery. And finally, I had the opportunity to lead my team in a way that could achieve great results. And the first key thing that needed to change was for my team to have absolute clarity of what our vision was. And we worked together to understand what it was within the organisation in the future and build a strategy that included a growth path, our core capabilities and skills needed, our values, our mindsets and behaviours to build the best team. And as we were a remote team, we lived in 4 different countries and we managed projects in 37 different countries. We needed to do it in a way that was efficient. And we needed to communicate in a way that was at the right time, at the right level, with the right message. And most of all, we did it in a way that people felt that they had autonomy. They had the training needed to perform their jobs. And most of all, they had the support and backing of their team and when the help was needed. Now, I'm not saying I abdicated responsibility for direction and decision making within a team, because there's always a specific time when decisions need direction. But there's always a balance between giving a directive and knowing when your team needs to be engaged to make a decision. And like any garden plant, there are times when they need attention by watering and pruning, but there are also times when they need to self-nurture and they need to grow in their own natural environment. Have you ever felt that you've finally been able to flourish and grow in a way that helps you and your teams to perform at their best? Now, despite being challenged by others on my approach and they questioned the way that I run my team, I knew it was the right thing to do. And what was so great about us working together in this way is that they felt like they had a sense of ownership. They had felt engaged and they felt empowered. And they felt like they was involved in everything. Now, they was also involved in the recruitment process, from the most senior member of the team to the junior member of the team. And I may have triggered the process, but in terms of the final selection and the interview process, we selected the person and they was all involved in it right from the beginning. Now, as a result of this, it meant that we had a united team, a high-performing team, and they all collaborated well together. And I can proudly say that 2 of my team members were promoted to directors within the organisation, which obviously made me very proud that they had been able to move forwards. And despite all of us not working for the same company anymore because of reorganisation, promotions, new ventures, I still get referred to affectionately as boss. And I'm also contacted first when they got great news about personal or professional lives changes, including promotions and requests for references. So that gives me a whole sense of joy. So let me leave you with this thought before I move forwards. It is true that when a plant isn't watered or confined to a small pot, that it doesn't thrive and it doesn't grow to its full potential. And yet, if you nurture it in the right way, you move the plant to a larger pot or in the ground, the roots will spread and take root and they will grow into something truly wonderful. So now, what I'd like to do is show you how I help my clients using the visionary paradigm philosophy. So what I'll do is I'll just share my desktop with you and hopefully we can see that all okay. Now bear with me. Let's just check that a second. And the wonderful art of sharing desktops. So just share presentation coming up. Right, okay. So let's just move me to the side, out of the way. And so hopefully you can all see that all right. So if I can get a thumbs up in the chat, that would be really good, just to get some clarity. So the way in which I help my clients with the visionary paradigm philosophy, it has 4 key stages. And the first is identity. And why do we need that? You need to be able to identify with the face of your business so you know why it exists, what it stands for, and how you will achieve success. And what I've experienced with my clients is that they lose sight of their why. And without their why, they don't know what their passion is, what drives them, what gives them the passion and the results that they need to move forwards. And they don't know how that aligns with their overall career, their company, and the direction they need to be. Now, without knowing your why or your purpose, how do you know what you're doing? How do you know where you're going? You're just merely existing, and you're not making a headway to a clear destination for success. It's rather like booking a holiday without a destination in mind, and you keep flying and flying around until the fuel runs out and you land just anywhere, which could be in a war zone. And who wants to go on holiday in a war zone? And the after that means that your people feel, what you say, they don't know where they're going. Your customers and your suppliers don't know why you exist and how you can help them. So why would they pick you over somebody else? Now, my clients use the Face Finding Facilitator not only to help them to rediscover their why, but also to help them establish what the sub-tribe why is, because they all need to be connected and being able to turn it into reality so they can achieve success. Now, I use my Face Finding Facilitator to achieve that effect. The second step is influence. Oh, and I've gone too far forwards. Giving the game away. So how do we do this? We do this by sharing what lies at the heart of your business and its true values. And what I find with my clients is that where there's no values or they're not clear, they're basically just words that maybe exist on the wall, but without any context behind them. And how can you shape a culture and brand of your organization if you don't know what your values truly stand for? They define who you are and how you want to portray yourself and the brand of the organization. And with unclear values, it can lead to confusion, a lack of accountability or trust, and subsequently those silo mentalities where people are not aligned and their priorities are not supportive of what you're trying to achieve. And potentially your brand is recognized in a negative way with your customers and your organization. Now, my clients use the Heartbeat Harmonizer system, which not only helps them to establish their true values, how to communicate them within the organization, but also with their clients. And it's what their brand truly represents that makes them stand out, and they become recognized by everybody else, and they become the company of choice. My third key stage is intention. And what do I mean by intention? It's the ability to provide strong leadership through consistency in all that you do in relation to your mindset and your beliefs. And if your behavior is not consistent in all that you do and why you exist, then potentially it creates mixed messages in how you behave and potentially a toxic environment. Now, I believe that someone has put in the chat about the toxic environment, and they recognized it whilst I was talking through on my story. And the impact of that can be absolutely paramount to the organization and its success. And where people feel that there's a lack of trust and they feel demotivated and they're not supported, it's when people don't want to work with them. And that's when we suffer with retention. Now, my Supportive mind shaper helps you to not only create an environment where your teams feel motivated and energized and confident that they can share and challenge ideas constructively. It also means that they know that they have the support and backing from you, and they know that you are disciplined and consistent in your behavior with everyone. And finally, is implements. And what do I mean by implements? It's for you to be able to strengthen the foundations through sharp leadership, robust and systems and tools. Imagine a situation where you don't have a clear strategy, and basically you know what your why is, but you don't know how to turn it in reality. I mean, how can an organisation not know what their organisation looks like, what their growth strategy looks like? How can they move forwards and grow as an organisation if those things are not understood? Which means that you don't know what size organisation you need, the type of organisation that's best for growth, the ideal people and skills and capabilities that are needed, what tools and systems are needed to deliver, or indeed the type of market you're working in, which of course is going to impact your performance because you're not aware who your competitors are. Now, my Sharp Evolution Accelerator provides you the tools to solidify your strategy and break down old paradigms, and gives you the ability to develop, coach and support your people, to build relationships in the most effective way, and provides methods to deliver governance, processes and procedures, and ensure that you have accountability with everything. Now, I'm not going to have time to go do a deeper dive in each of these subjects, but what I would like to do is talk about the one step of the process in the Face Finding Facilitator, which is empowerment. And what do I mean by empowerment? It's the ability for you to be able to provide a leader to give or delegate the power of authority, or indeed the permission for others to make decisions and delegate responsibility. Now, I'd like to remember a time when you've been micromanaged. And when you've been in that situation, you've got no autonomy, you couldn't make decisions. And yet, when you was put in a situation where you was empowered and you had the opportunity to be free to do your job, make the decisions where necessary, and yet still had the support and backing where it was needed, how did you feel? And what was the result? Were you far more productive? Did you become more inspiration? Did things get done quicker? And here's the thing. It's so important to empower your teams as it helps to build relationships where the person feels comfortable to discuss their feelings and what they want. And subsequently, you're building a trusting environment. Now, there's two ways that you can show that you're an empowering organisation. Now, obviously, I can't see you guys, but what I would suggest is that write this down. The first is being respectful, non-judgmental. And the second is by supporting and encouraging involvement in decision-making. And would you not agree with me that when your peers are empowered and you focus on their strengths and abilities, it builds confidence and promotes growth within? Now, I can't see you, but I'd love to see whether you agree with me. Put a yes or a no in the chat. Now, hopefully I get some comments in there. It's really tough when you can't actually see. So, now, there's a belief that people are successful in work just through hard work alone, despite their ability. And yet we know that that's not the truth, and that there are many people who have been prevented from growing in that organisation because they've been stifled or their capabilities have been blocked. And yet, if you give people a sense of ownership and responsibility and give them the chance to shine, the organisation has a reputation for empowering their people, better employee retention. And these organisations are the ones where people are knocking on their door to come and work for them. Now, you only got to see the picture I've got here with the football team, the results of them, the reason why they were so successful. They had a great leader, Serena, and she empowered her team to lead from within the team as well, which created cohesiveness, a sense of ownership and teamwork. And look at the amazing results that we achieved from that. And I say we because I'm really proud of what they've achieved. And I'd like you to remember a time how it felt when you was a child and your mum and dad took you on holiday, and you've got great memories. And whilst you went to different places and learnt different things, it could be a bit boring and constrained, especially as you got older and you wanted to find your own space. Now, how did it feel when you were finally empowered to do your own thing and you took your own holiday and you went away with your friends or a partner and you could decide what you could do and what to do? Was that the most magical and amazing experience you had? Yeah, it was slightly scary because it was the first trip that you'd been on. Now, that's the thing about empowerment, because when you're empowered to do things and it becomes your choice and you can do everything your way, you're not necessarily being micromanaged anymore. You're not being told what to do or what holiday or where to go on. And you can choose to make decisions, but equally, when you know when it goes wrong, it's your responsibility to deal with it and resolve it. But knowing that there's someone there to support you gives you that confidence to achieve it. Oh. Let's go back to presenting that. And what happened there. Now, what I'd like to do is introduce you to one of the programs that we're doing before I continue on a deeper dive on nurturing. Now, in September the 15th, we have a 6-week program that's starting. It's 1.5 hours long, and we'll have specialists in leadership coaching that will be talking, that will be complementing what I teach myself. And that's Virginia Gunn, Claudia Romero, Nancy Mutton, and as I've said, myself. And what we'll be doing is a deeper dive in the areas where we can help businesses to reduce stress levels within the beta team, reduce overwhelm, lower staff turnover, and increase profits within the business and help them to grow consistently. And some of the key points that we'll cover is team communication, the performance, how we can reduce the overwhelm, make sure we align on objectives, and also ensure that we have true vision. Now, this event is £500, and we also have another program that's happening next week. So we've got a one-off masterclass that's with the same ladies, which you can see in this picture, which is Nancy in the top left-hand corner and Claudia Romero in the top right, and myself in the bottom, as you can see, and Virginia. And we will be doing a high-level dive on the subjects on the 6-week program to give you some insights. And as well as that, there'll be a Q&A with the attendees so they can discuss some of the challenges and opportunities they've got. Now, this class will be held on 25th of August and at 3 o'clock BST. And that one will be £48. And in brackets, you can see we've got the euros of 58. And also, I'll be sharing with you later on access to the stress-free risk resolution, and you can download a free copy of that. So, now, the next thing I'd like to talk to you, which I've already mentioned, is a supportive mind shaper, which has 4 key steps. And same thing is that I can't go into a deeper dive for this. And what I'd like you to do is write down on the left-hand side is M-I-N-D. And the step that I'll be covering today is the 3rd step, which is nurture. And what do I mean by nurture? What I mean is being able to create a culture where employees feel safe, supported, and can embrace vulnerability. Can you remember a time when you've worked in a company, and that moment when you've shared a voice or voiced an opinion, and your idea gets shot down? How did you feel as a result? Did you feel confident to share ideas again in the future? Or did you keep the ideas for yourself because you just couldn't see the point? And yet, when you've worked in an environment where you're given the space to share your ideas, you can challenge and question openly. You've been creative, innovative, and confident to contribute to its overall success. Now, the challenge I see with the executives and leaders is that so often they're so immersed in the numbers and the results that they lose sight of what's going on around them. And what do I mean by that? They're not engaging with their teams enough. They're not aware of any potential conflict that's within the teams or across departments and divisions. And possibly they're not giving the support or recognition for the work that people are doing. And the result of that means they're not creating an environment where people feel like they're being nurtured. They don't have a sense of trust and feel confident to be open and vulnerable, which then leads to frustration, disillusionment, until potentially they leave the organisation or they just don't perform. Now, instead of that, whilst it's important that you give your teams the space to make the decisions, give them the autonomy to be creative and innovative, and as well as that, enable your people to feel safe and comfortable with failing. But at the same time, provide constructive feedback to help them grow and support them when the backing is needed. I've just gone forward a second. And there are two ways that you can show that you're a nurturing environment. Celebrate wins, show gratitude for something that they did, and be specific about it. And most of all, what's really important, in fact, I'd write it down, make sure you tell them why it's important and how they impact their business. Here's a fun fact. And the way and how it contributes to the success of business. When you celebrate achievements at work, it is actually shown to change the way that the brain responds to more mundane aspects of your day. The endorphins in your head are released inside our body, and we experience that euphoria as a result. And second, allow people to be able to make mistakes and enable them to learn from those mistakes. And even more important, admit your own mistakes and encourage them to do the same. Because would you not agree with me that by encouraging your organisation to communicate across the hierarchy with no barriers, it creates openness, motivation and innovation. And subsequently, it helps your teams to grow and feel nurtured. Now, put a yes in the chat, or yes or no, should I say, in a chat if you agree or not. Now, here's the thing. There's many executives and leaders that still believe that offering money or promoting them will motivate them. And the employees will perform better and achieve better employee retention. Now, why is that a big problem? As I've mentioned before, motivations from manipulation is short-term, it's finite, and they still become demotivated, and eventually the employees still want to leave, and they struggle for their employee retention. Put 1 in the chat if you recognise this behaviour. And yet, by creating that culture and organisation where people feel nurtured and everyone is able to bring their ideas to table and have a platform to solve problems, be vulnerable and not, and not only does it motivate them, it creates creativity and innovation and their own sense of purpose. Now, while working with one of my clients doing exactly that, they didn't have their eye on the ball. They assumed that things were progressing all okay and everybody around them was happy. Do you know what was so bad about that whole situation is that the CEO thought he was being fed the right information. He believed that they were being collaborative workforce. And yet the leadership team wasn't telling him about the fact that there was silo mentality going. There was that toxic environment and that his people were unhappy. And all because they feared that by being open and vulnerable and the repercussions of telling them would impact their career. Now, following an audit with the company, doing an employee engagement surveys, we did that across the teams. That was throughout the whole leadership organisation and across the employees. We was able to establish the current situation, those messages that hadn't been fed back. And where there were gaps with engagement and support and communication, we was able to identify those, which led us to an open discussion and honest discussion about the company's situation and the culture the organisation had at that time. And the impact it was having, not only on their performance, but on the retention and relationships of between their internal stakeholders and their external stakeholders. Now, we held workshops and with the senior leadership and the team, we helped them to identify what was truly important to them, to create a culture which helped them to be truly aligned and shaped strategy and roadmap to build a cohesive and engaged, cohesive team. And what was important about that is that once the teams were given the opportunity to play a key role in shaping the culture and the clarity of the organisation and its own purpose, they could identify the key areas for improvement. They became engaged. They actively assigned themselves to tasks to achieve the key areas of improvement. And they made themselves accountable. And most of all, they all had a sense of purpose. Now, what I'd like to talk to you about right now is the programs that I have. I've already mentioned to you. So the leadership program that we've got on the 6-week program. Because of today's event, I'd like to offer £150 for the event. So if you'd like to sign up to it, what I will do is I'll put it into the chat afterwards, the comments, so you can click on the link for that. And you're able to book a discovery call. There's also the leadership masterclass, which is an hour and a half long. As I said, that stays as £48. And if you'd like to just get an insight on our 6-week program next week, then I'd be happy for you to join. I've also included my contact details in the details, so you can contact me or WhatsApp me. And then finally, I'd love you all to take advantage of my daily stress monitor tracker, which helps you to start identifying your own stress patterns. It helps you to identify who was involved, when it happens, and what occurs. And if you monitor this over the time, you might see some patterns of behaviour, and you might create some awareness of things that are bothering you. And of course, we can talk about it in a bit more detail and see how you can overcome those stress patterns. So if you click on the scan, you can get the daily stress factor tracker. I hope you found this an inspiring event today. It's a bit strange talking to no one because I can't see the comments, but thank you for joining us. And I'm going to stop sharing. And I'd like to say thank you for your time. And I hope you got some benefits from it. And I look forward to perhaps linking up and connecting with you guys in the future. Enjoy the rest of your day.